Active Treason, this is a pretty classic card. I think a lot of us know what it does and how good it is. It's kind of situational, but it can win you the game on occasion. We got Bomber Core. It's got Battalion, deals 1 damage to target creature or player when it attacks with buddies. That's not terrible, especially as a 2-drop 1/2. We've got Cinderella Mental here, which you sacrifice, and it's going to deal X damage to target creature or player. That's actually pretty good, I think. It's a 4-drop, so it's a little late to be a 2/2, and you do have to kind of telegraph the fact that you're going to be doing this damage to them, but it's still something that if they can't stop that turn on their turn, once Summoning Sickness leaves this guy, you're going to be able to really just damage the hell out of them. So I do like being able to drop this guy. I think that you should probably wait until you think your opponent doesn't have a way to get rid of him before he can go off, though. Because he's not going to be useful in combat because it's turn 4 and he's a 2/2. So I don't see him being too useful in combat, but I do see his ability coming in quite handy. It might be able to win you a game once or twice. Tap and untapped gate you control, and Crackling Perimeter deals 1 damage to each opponent. That's not bad. I mean, especially the fact that you're not going to get too many gates, but it's not unheard of to get 2 or 3 perhaps even. And the fact that you can just do all this damage to them on their end step is just really awesome, actually. So that is pretty good. Ember Beast can't attack or block alone. I hate cards like this. I know he's just 3, but I just don't like him. I'm not going to put him in any of my decks because I'm not a huge fan. I don't want something that can't do something when I need it to. If I got nothing out on the field, I just lose because I played this card. So I would rather have something else, like this guy, maybe. Fire Fist Striker. He's a 2-drop 2/1, and if he attacks with 2 other buddies, target creature can't block this turn, so that's not terrible. He's pretty good. Probably getting there for a little bit of damage. Foundry Street Denizen. You can actually do combat tricks with that. Just make a target creature not be able to block so that if they want to stop the damage, they have to do poor blocks. Like, you can take out their 6/6 out of the equation, and then they'd have to make some tough decisions at that point. 5-alarm fire, I'm not a fan of at all, really. Whenever another red creature enters the battlefield under your control, this creature gets +1/+0. I'm not a fan of that either. I don't think that's too great. Hellkite Tyrant, not great and limited. His abilities aren't fantastic, but he does have flying and trample, so I mean, he's still worth throwing in there to get those last couple points of damage through, but he's not super useful as far as his abilities are concerned. Target blocking creature gets +3/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn. I love giving creatures first strike. You guys know that, so that is a great card, actually. Hellraiser Goblin, hate it. I'm never going to play it. I will not play it in anything. I do not like it. There you go. Homing Lightning deals 4 damage to target creature and each other creature with the same name as that creature. Pretty good and limited, I think. You'll be able to get rid of a couple things. It does cost 4, but, you know, Maelstrom Pulse is awesome. You say that and you're like, wow, that's great. You look at this card and you don't get the same feeling you do when you're looking at Maelstrom Pulse, but it's really not that different. It's obviously not as powerful. It doesn't have as wide a range of what it can target. But it's still a fun little card. It's situational, so I don't know if I'll put it in any decks, but it is pretty good. Legion Loyalist has haste, and creatures you control gain first strike and trample until end of turn and can't be blocked by creature tokens this turn. So he's pretty good if he's got some buddies out there. He's definitely a playable card. Enchant creature gets +3/+0 and can't be blocked except by 2 or more creatures. I actually love cards like this because it's like a permanent combat trick. I just like the fact that they can't really block. The fact that you're forcing them to block with multiple creatures is nice too, because then if you have a way to give them instant speed first strike, you can just completely murder their side and they won't even see it coming. So that's always nice. Massive Raid deals damage to target creature or player equal to the number of creatures you control, so that's not bad at all for a 3-drop. Mark of Death, target creature an opponent controls blocks this turn favorable, untap that creature. Other creatures that player controls can't block this turn, blah, blah, blah. That's pretty good. As far as, I don't know. I can't really make a case for it because it's sorcery. I know that there are things that you can do with it that'll be kind of cool, but as far as I'm concerned, it's not really something that I'm interested in doing on turn 4, so I'd probably wait for a little while. It is really great that other creatures they control can't block this turn. So it's useful, and it's not even really as situational as some other cards that are in this set that have been printed. So it is something to consider. It's just one of those things where you really want to be able to kind of alpha strike in the turn that you use it. So it's not something you're going to be using on turn 4, probably. It's something that you're going to want to be able to orchestrate an alpha strike, and you still have to remember that they get to pick the blocks for the creature that has to block. But you can make it be a really weak creature. You just have to keep in mind that if you don't have trample or something, when you're doing your combat math, you just have to keep that in mind. Ooh, a Molten Primordial has haste, and he enters the battlefield for each opponent. You gain control of up to one target creature that player controls until end of turn. Untap those creatures, they gain haste. That's not bad. These guys are all 7-drops. The fact that he has haste is what makes him good. The fact that he gives other people haste is what makes him good. I think he might be my favorite one out of these Primordials. Because he's going to come in and you're going to be bashing in with 6 immediately just for playing him, and whatever they give you in the same turn. So he's definitely a good way to maybe even end the game. Not bad for 7 at all. 2 damage to target creature. That creature can't block this turn. That's okay. That's not bad. It's not really going to kill anything since it can't block unless you're doing it second main and you're ignoring the can't block portion of it. But you have to use it in tandem with something else to actually get rid of the creature if you're trying to kill it. But I don't know. It's not really my favorite card by any stretch of the imagination. Ripscale Predator can't be blocked except by 2 or more creatures, so I like that. I actually like that a lot. Scorchwalker has Blood Rush. Blood Rush, I think Blood Rush is going to be a lot more fun than I originally thought when I heard how it worked. But you're going to give somebody +5/+1 for 3 mana, so that's pretty damn good. Skimbrand Goblin, discard Skimbrand, he's got Blood Rush as well, and it's +2/+1. Players can't gain life this turn. Skullcrack, we talked about a little bit earlier when we were going through the multicolored cards. It deals 3 damage to target player, and they can't gain life this turn. I think that's really going to throw a wrench into some of the other deck's mechanics. It's a great card to print in this set by far. It's definitely something you're going to want to hold on to and maybe sideboard in depending on who you are playing against. Structural, that being said, there are pretty much cards that gain life in every color, except for what you'd be playing if you were doing that. So is it a great card to just put in? It's 2 mana for 3 damage, but it has to be to a player. So I know that an argument could be made for mainboarding this, but I think that since the rules are so flexible and limited, especially in the pre-releases, that you definitely want to just sideboard this puppy. Structural Collapse. A target player sacrifices an artifact, a land, and then it deals 2 damage to them. Not a huge fan of it because it costs 6. The land's not really going to matter at that point, and they get to pick the artifact they get rid of. 10th Street Market, I just don't like. I don't like it because it costs too much. I don't have enough cards to discard at that point. Towering Thunderfist gains Vigilance until end of turn. Not terrible. 4/4 with Vigilance isn't too bad, so I don't really have a problem with him. He's a playable. Vishino Shanktail, I talked about him before. 3/1 first strike. Huge fan of that, to be honest with you. Warmind Infantry has Battalion, gets +2/+0 until end of turn when it attacks him with buddies. And then we finally have the 3/3 Blood Rush Double Strike, which is expensive, but very, very useful. I like that a lot, actually. Double Strike is just amazing.